Sara Carter has been on the ground with us. She'll be with us in Helsinki on Monday. Also joining us, investigative reporter and Greg Jarrett. His book is coming out. It is called The Russia Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. Let's start with the summary of yesterday, and Lisa Page is in today. And what do you think of these indictments, Greg Jarrett?
Well, I find it very entertaining to watch CNN's take on this. They put Adam Schiff on the air, who's the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, and he all but indicted and impeached President Trump over this indictment today. At one point in time, he starts going off on some crazy hypothetical of Trump being taken away in handcuffs. I mean, and Dana Bash speculating, she's an anchor there at CNN, speculating that there would inevitably be indictments of Trump campaign associates. Nowhere in this indictment, I've read it thoroughly, does it suggest that. There is no connection to Donald Trump. There's no connection to the Trump campaign. But, you know, if you allow Democrats like Schiff and liberal media like Dana Bash to have at it, they'll condemn Donald Trump for if he coughs or sneezes.
Yeah, I mean, and Sarah, that's the whole point here. That, you know, the last indictment against these bot companies of Russia, they never thought that they'd show up in court, meaning Robert Mueller and his team. They showed up in court. They've written stinging indictments against the special counsel. Special counsel doesn't even want to give them simple discovery because they weren't prepared for the Russian bot companies to defend themselves, and they're getting brutalized in a courtroom. And my prediction is they may end up dropping the charges.
That's right, because it was all for theater, right? It was to bring Russia into the picture, to make it look like, okay, we've done something here. And you're right, Robert Mueller was stunned. He was surprised. Jenny Rhee, who was handling that case, was stunned and surprised, and it opened it up for discovery. I say let it go forward, just like the Russian company wants. Let them open up for discovery, have Mueller turn over everything they have, and now we have this indictment, 12 GRU, intelligence agents from Russia. There is no way anything is going to happen with this. This is not the first time the Russians have.
So that would be like, well, first of all, Devin Nunes, because nobody disputes that the Russians wanted to influence our election.
Absolutely.
Devin Nunes warned about it in a Washington Times piece back in 2014 that it's going to happen. It was just before the election, if we're going to be accurate here, that Barack Obama was saying no serious person would ever think that any outside entity could influence our elections. And he didn't lift a finger, even though he was warned by Nunes and others that this would happen. This all happened on his watch, not on Donald Trump's watch.
Absolutely.
So I guess the next question is, all right, so where do we go with that, Greg Jarrett? I mean, sounds to me, are they going to allow discovery if, in fact, lawyers? It would be like the Russians indicting CIA agents in Russia. Are we ever going to allow the American CIA agents to go on trial in Russia or extradite them to Russia? It's never happening.
Well, I assume that none of the 12 defendants in today's indictment are anywhere near the United States, and we don't have an agreement with them for extradition. So it's easy to file an indictment. Proving a case is actually hard, as Robert Mueller has found out, because several months ago when he indicted other Russians and companies associated with them, he figured he'd never have to prove his case. It's really easy. I'll just render the indictment and brag about it. Well, what he didn't expect was that a company that is actually named in that indictment had counsel make an appearance on their behalf and started asking for documents and discovery. And all of a sudden, Mueller didn't know what to do. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? So he starts assigning lawyers from the Department of Justice and borrowing them to try to do his job because he doesn't know how to do it.
An 80-page stinging rebuttal. It was a Mueller beatdown, which I'm sure you read. Let's go back to yesterday. We don't know what's happening with Lisa Page yet. I'm sure we'll be getting some leaks coming out shortly. I would love to see Lisa Page and Peter Strzok actually at the same hearing and let them answer questions together and see, well, did you know what this meant? Did you know what this meant? What did you think when you said, he's a loathsome, or we're going to stop him, or we want an insurance policy? So my question is, what were the biggest parts of yesterday, and do you think, Sarah Carter, that Peter Strzok now finds himself in trouble? Oh, I certainly think he finds himself in trouble, and I think Jim Jordan's questioning of him was very telling and very important, that he did not want to explain how he received those copies of the dossier. I think that's the crux of a lot of this. And Lisa Page is going to have some of those answers. Because remember, she's just not a regular FBI agent. She was general counsel. She was working directly with McCabe and Comey. And who was she meeting with? Who was she talking to? How did she play a role in this? Beyond just the text messages that we've seen. Those are the questions they're going to be asking. Well, where did she get a copy of all of these? That's right. Was there somebody deep within the deep state that might have handed it over to her? Another agency, maybe. Another agency. Maybe there were people involved in collecting that information. What would be the NSA or the CIA? Possibly the CIA. Maybe the NSA. Because remember, they were listening in on these conversations. This was not all about the FBI. There was a lot of evidence that much of this was happening in Great Britain early on. Before July 31st, before the FBI actually says they opened the investigation, there was a lot of things happening on the ground right here in London that they were collecting information. Who knows? Were they sharing information with the United States? Was MI6 sharing information? Was GCHQ collecting telephone calls or information on people within the Trump administration or back then during the Trump campaign and then sharing that with the United States? I think these are questions that Congress wants to know. Let's go back to yesterday and your thoughts on Strzok. Beyond being extraordinarily arrogant and pompous and narcissistic, and I think the thing that he must really think we're really dumb, smelly people that go to Walmart, because nobody can believe a single word that came out of his mouth. I know I certainly didn't. Your thoughts, Greg Jarrett? Well, he was smug and pompous, a constant smirk that was stapled onto his face for hours. He was insufferable and incorrigible, the personification of the arrogance of power and corruption. But the critical point he was asked, he sat down at a computer and changed Comey's statement that Hillary Clinton was grossly negligent, which is a crime. He changed it to extremely careless. So what did he say yesterday when asked by Congressman Sensenbrenner about that? He said, I don't specifically recall that. But he did say that Comey made the decision to change the wording. Well, that's interesting, because Comey told the Inspector General that he doesn't recall the original draft where he wrote gross negligence and doesn't recall any of the decisions to change it, doesn't recall discussions about that, even though notes show Comey attended meetings about the change of the wording that exonerated Hillary Clinton and participated in those. So everybody's got amnesia. Strzok doesn't remember changing the words. Comey doesn't remember writing the words. And this was the crux of the case. If he'd stuck with his original findings that she committed gross negligence, she would have been indicted 110 times, because there were 110 classified emails on her unauthorized private computer service. So the ultimate one other thing, though, nobody can remember. Well, and are there any crimes here that you see? Oh, I do see. Look, it is a crime if you're an FBI agent or FBI director to clear somebody in the face of overwhelming evidence of guilt for political reasons. It's called obstruction of justice. And then to use a knowingly fabricated, unverified document to spy on somebody through a warrant, that's abuse of power. That's a federal felony crime. And then, of course, leaking stolen presidential memorandums, which Comey did, some of which contain classified information. Those are crimes. So, the law enforcers became the lawbreakers. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. But who? Who will enforce this action? Who's going to charge them with crimes? And we have a DOJ
sorry to say, but the Department of Justice, under Attorney General Jeff Sessions, doesn't appear to be doing anything. We got Rod Rosenstein now with this silly indictment against 12 GRU intelligence agents from Russia. When? Think about the timing here. Right before the president goes to meet with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, they indict 12 Russian intelligence agents that they'll never be able to get here in the United States. You know, the only thing that smells, as Peter Strzok likes to put it, the only thing that smells is their big fat lies. That's what smells here.
Well, it's just when does everyone get held accountable, which is everything that we've wondered and talked about. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. All right, final thoughts as we continue before we get to Andy McCarthy at the bottom of this hour. Sarah Carter. Okay, so now we've got Lisa Page today. What are we going to find out?
I think they're going to be very curious about Lisa Page's involvement. As I said before, they're going to want to know the scope. But they're going to want to know, one, how involved was she? General counsel. She was general counsel to McCabe. What was his involvement? Did she have access to the dossier? Did she have any meetings with people on the Hill? Did she meet with other people from other agencies? How was she involved in this?
All right, we got to give Greg the last word, then we got to move on. Greg?
Lisa Page will be asked today about changing the wording that exonerated Hillary Clinton. She told the IG, quote, to use a term that actually has a legal definition would be confusing, end quote. Well, it most certainly would. How do you exonerate Clinton under gross negligence if the very phrase is used to describe her behavior? It was a clever legal charade conjured to exculpate and clear Hillary Clinton. It was a scheme by all of these people, Strzok and Page and Comey and McCabe.
The fix was in. Your title captures it. The Russia hoax, the illicit scheme to, well, let Hillary go free and, of course, go after Donald Trump. It's out in less than a week and a half now. Greg Jarrett, thank you for being with us. Sarah Carter, thank you.